Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Book Talk with Kara. Today, I have my friend Sarah Hamaker here with me, and we are going to be talking about one of her new books, maybe a second if we have time. But she has been writing in a collection that I was part of volume one. She's in volume four. So it's really fun to have her here today. But Sarah, before we get started, do you want to share just a little bit about who you are and your writing journey?
Sure. Thanks, Kara. It's a delight to be here. I always love talking about writing and books. What could be more fun? And we kind of bookended the collection, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Which is kind of fun. Yeah, I write romantic suspense, Christian romantic suspense. So I weave the faith thread, the romance thread, the suspense thread through all my books. I've been writing all my life. And I finally got serious about it, probably a dozen or so years ago, realizing I was starting way too many books and not finishing them. I'm sure that can sound familiar to many writers. I was like, wait a minute, this is not kind of going the way I want it to go. So I just decided I'm going to start finishing books. And then I eventually had some published with Harlequin Love Inspired Suspense. I do have an agent and I'm shopping another couple proposals with her now, but I'm mostly indie publishing now, mostly because I have all these great books that I've written and nobody wanted them. So no publisher wanted them. The readers seem
Yeah.
to like them. So that's great.
Yeah. No, that's great. And that's one of the great things about publishing right now is you can kind of do both routes. You can be
Yeah.
with a traditional publisher. You can also take those books that you've been working on and finish them and finesse them and then get those out to readers faster and more quickly than you would with
Yeah.
a publisher, which is really part of the nice process of being able to kind of control the timing and everything.
Right. And we all have these stories that they just won't leave us alone sometimes. And sometimes they just, whatever the timing or the market at the time or whatever, they just don't fit with the traditional publisher. But, they seem to resonate with readers. So it's been really fun to kind of bring some of those out because I'm like, they're great stories. I want people to love them. I want people to read them. So
I love that. Yeah, because when you've got that nut backlog, but all those stories you've been working on and they're just sitting there reading and you're like, but they're good and I want people to be able to find them. So that's
yeah.
great. Now the book that just came out is Fatal Past, and it's part of Truth, which is a volume that has four different stories in it. So tell us a little bit about what how the story came to you and what it's been like being in this collection.
Well, I was so excited to have the opportunity to be in this collection with the shorter novels because this was one I had pitched to Love Inspired and they had rejected it. And I thought, I really love this story. I honestly don't remember where it came from. It wasn't some stories I can go, yeah, I read this bit in the news and I thought of this. This one, I don't know, just kind of organically evolved and I just really loved it. So I was really glad to be able to tell the story of Eve and Jefferson. Those are my heroine and hero, Jefferson, heroine to Eve. Sorry, got a little confused there. And just the kind of, I love telling stories with some redemption in them and how they were high school sweethearts and then some things happened and they reconnect later. So I just love that story. It does have a secret baby. Those are always fun too. So,
Okay.
and then of course the whole mystery. I love not letting people know who is after them or why until it kind of gets revealed as they go along.
Yeah, and it's I love second chance stories. I think they're so much fun. They're fun to write. They can be fun to read when they're done really well because there's so much tension between the hero and the heroine because of everything that's happened in the past. And you're like, are they going to be able to overcome it? Who knows? But you've got this idea of the kidnapping attempt, and there's
Mhm.
all these things going on. So what kind of was that what if that got you going down that thread? There's always that moment where a book kind of goes, ping, I want to be told. So what was that for you?
Well, I just started thinking about secret babies. I don't always write them, but I don't know. For this story, I started thinking about, well, what if the mom didn't realize her about her baby? And I mean, I'm not giving too much away if I say she, you know, didn't realize that her child was still alive. and that, all these things had happened. But the hero thought that she did. So you have that extra layer of tension. So for me, it was kind of, well, what if, and why would that happen? What would be
Yeah.
plausible for that scenario to happen? So that just kind of got me thinking about it. And that second chance, like you said, I love second chances as well.
Yeah. Well, and that's an
Yeah.
interesting idea that the mom wouldn't realize that the
Yeah.
baby's still around, or now a
Right.
child, but
Yeah, yes. Yeah, because in this story, it's not a baby, it's I think an 8-year-old or something like that. But yeah, she didn't know. She was told the baby had died. And in reality, had been given to the father's family. So and you learn that pretty quickly in the story. So it's like I said, I'm not like giving away a big secret here, but the characters don't know that each other knows this. So that creates some of that tension between them. And yeah, I think that's just kind of it was very fun to write. This is one of the books that I wrote really fast. I'm not a super slow writer, but this one seemed to be extra fast, which was a lot of fun. You kind of get those juices going and you're in the story and it just
yeah.
kind of flows almost the entire thing. So that was pretty fun.
That is so much fun when that magic happens and you're like, okay, the story just wants to come out so
Yeah.
fast. And so I love that. So this one has twist in its romantic suspense. What's the hardest part of writing those types of stories for you? Is it coming up with the scenario? Is it coming up with the characters? Is it keeping it fresh? What makes romantic suspense like your space and a challenge?
Well, I think because I read a lot of it, and I also read a lot of those mysteries as a kid. I read the Bobbsey twins, I read the Happy Hollisters, really
I
going
read all
back.
those books.
Oh
Yes.
yes, I'm glad. No, hardly anyone knows about the Happy Hollisters. My older siblings had those books, and you can't find them anymore. I'm like,
Yeah, it's all you got to go to the antique stores.
yes, yeah, yes. I haven't gotten rid of my collect. I still have them, and I'll probably hang on them until I die. And then my kids will chuck them. But hey, I did my part. Nancy Drew, Trixie Belden, and of course Agatha Christie and my teens and stuff. And I always loved that you didn't know who was after them. Now, romantic suspense can go both ways. You can know who's after them, and sometimes you do, and that doesn't make the story any less satisfying. It's just a different way of writing. But for me, I love to have that mystery. And some of my readers have said, yeah, I thought it was going to be this way, and then it was that way. And I am a pantser. So I don't really plot a lot of my books. So like, for example, I'll be writing a book and then I'll realize, oh, that's why I did that in chapter 4 because it ties into like chapter 11. And I honestly, I don't know how my brain works. It's a little weird. So to me, writing that mystery and that suspense is the most fun part of it. What I struggle with is adding the romance into it because
Me too.
usually my first draft, I'm so focused on the suspense and making sure that I haven't left weird things dangling or, things have happened and then I don't resolve them because I hate that as a reader. So I'm really focused on that. And then I'm like, oh yeah, they need to like kiss, I think sometimes.
I do the same thing where I'm like, it's literally, I'll be um, getting for going along, and most of my books are more around 40 chapters than, the length we had for the
Yeah.
series. And I was like, oh, yeah, they got to kiss.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I got to add something romancy here.
Yeah.
And so it's just kind of funny because that's just not the thing that is my favorite. There are people like Pepper Basham where it's all about the kissing, and I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I
Yeah.
I do it because yeah, you kind of have to, but
Yeah.
it's just that thing that every once in a while I'm like, okay, yeah, where did that go? Have they done anything romantic? Is that
Yes.
building? And I'm so it has to be organic. It has to feel like a real
Yeah.
relationship would, and not this, oh, we immediately fell in love. And I'm like, okay, I
Right.
suppose that happens for some people, but
Yeah.
it's not the normal. And so I think it's the lawyer in me going, how would
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
really play out?
It
So
isn't really realistic. And I get the sudden attraction. So I can work with that.
mhm.
The sudden attraction with the people. But it is, I was just working on another book and I was just writing the scene and they have a nice dinner together and she's thinking all these good thoughts, and everything. But then I have something happen that that doesn't end on quite the right note, because I have to get that suspense in. But I've been I've gotten better at kind of layering some of those in, but I'll often just have little notes. Okay, something, like you said, something romancy here. And
Yeah.
I got to get back to
Add
the
a kissing
suspense.
scene.
Yeah, yeah. Have they kissed? And I'm on what chapter? Does she know that he likes her? Does he know that she,
Is
I have
there
to remind
anything
myself.
going on
Yeah, is
that the reader
anything
could be
going
like,
on? Is there any
yay?
heat here? I know he's trying to keep her alive, but
Yeah. So when you were writing this book, did you have to do some research that you couldn't include in the book that you're like, man, it would have been fun, but it just would have slowed the plot down?
I there wasn't a whole lot of that. Oh, I did have to because I have a child who was kidnapped. So I did have to kind of look and see how would the police respond to an attempted
Mhm.
kidnapping at the beginning? That's how the book opens. And then there's an actual kidnapping later in the book. So I needed to know how would they respond? What would that look like? And that's when there's actually, I came across, and I forget where exactly it was, but there was this whole like response thing that some police department in Virginia, I think, put out that told you exactly what they would do, and how they would talk to the parents. It was just like whole like guide thing. I don't, yeah, the internet, it can be great for
Yeah.
weird stuff like that. And then I also posted on I'm on a couple of like, I'm on a Cops and Writers kind of Facebook group and also on an email loop. So I just posed the question there. So just, can someone just walk me through a little bit? How would they react? If it was an attempted kidnapping that didn't happen, what would they do? And then what would they do if it was an actual kidnapping? So I had to do some of that and include it in there. Um, but other than that, there wasn't really anything that I had to leave out because I know sometimes there is, but for this book, there really wasn't.
Yeah. Well, and that's it. It depends on the book because like the one that I had that came out in April, The Accused, everyone's probably thinking, oh, it's a crime drama. A lot takes place in the courtroom. She didn't have to do any research. And I'm like, oh, no, 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 no. Because I had to set it in Virginia and I'm licensed in Virginia, but I haven't done a criminal trial in Virginia and I haven't practiced in Virginia for 20 years. And so I
Yeah.
was like, I had to do all this research to go, okay, what's realistic? What could happen? How would it actually work? And when you find those gems, like those guides of, okay, here's how we would do da 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 da, you're like,
Yep.
yes, this
Yeah.
is exactly what I needed to, make sure that the timeline's going to work and everything.
Yes.
So you said
Yeah.
that you've been a voracious reader and really a writer your whole life, but was there a moment where you went, this is what I want to do? I get life out of this.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I mean, it's weird. I always knew I wanted to write. No, I didn't necessarily think I wanted to write books, but I wanted to write. I always knew frankly, that was the only thing I was really good at.
Yeah.
I'm not a math person at all. And science was interesting, but and I never wanted to be a doctor. I thought about a lawyer, but I'm like, that's just too much work. I'll just be honest. I'm like, and I didn't
Yeah.
really, it wasn't that interesting. To me, writing was what I wanted to do. So, I have a degree in communications with a journalism emphasis. My first job was with a trade association. I was there, I worked on their magazine. So that's what I did as like kind of a career. And I still do some freelance writing. I've ghostwritten books for other people. I'm actually currently working on a book, history of a company for someone. So I do things like that. So I always kind of knew I wanted to write. It's the writing the books thing that kind of came late. And if I didn't have to like earn some money because we have kids in college and stuff, I would just write. I would just do what I want, which is the romantic suspense writing. But yeah, the other ones must pay some bills. So what are you gonna do?
So if you could have Fatal Path or one of your other books turned into a movie, first of all, which one would it be? Would you pick Fatal Path or would you pick a different book? And who would you cast as the hero and heroine?
I would probably, if I could turn any of my books into a movie, I mean, Fatal Pass would be great, but I think I would probably pick Justice Denied.
Mhm.
And I would probably get maybe Blake Lively or yeah, she comes to mind as the heroine for that one. And that's a story that I had written finished it right before the pandemic, almost got a publisher, but no, it was ultimately a no. And a couple years ago, I'm like, I don't have anything going on. I'm going to just finish, polish it up and
Mhm.
send it out there. So that one I think would make a fun story. It's one of those stories where she went to prison for a crime she didn't commit, and when she's out,
Ooh.
she's solving it with the help of a journalist who had some issues of his own. So
Oh, I love
yeah,
that. That sounds
yeah.
great. It reminds me of the Ashley. There was a movie like 20 years ago where it was
Oh,
Tommy Lee Jones and Ashley Judd,
Judd.
I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
was the
yes,
star.
yeah, yep, yeah.
Or
I,
I
I
guess
don't
that was
remember the name,
Double
but
Jeopardy.
yeah, I remember that movie, but I don't remember it. I'm so bad with names. My husband's like, yeah, you can reel them up. I'm like, I have no idea. It had these people in it. This is what the plot was about.
Yeah, I just
Yeah,
remember the whole idea that
yeah,
charged with a crime she didn't commit and
mhm,
then trying to prove who did it. And it's so
yeah,
those are the best because then you're trying to, the reader's really vested in figuring out, okay,
yeah.
what did happen? Are they telling the truth? Because sometimes they are and sometimes they
Hmm.
aren't.
Yep,
And it just makes for a really good, compelling story with lots of tension. So
yeah.
you've talked a lot about your writing journey and how you've gotten close with some publishers on certain books and you haven't, and you've been published with Love Inspired Suspense. And writing is like that. Writing is
Hmm.
tough. It's a really competitive business. There aren't enough publishers for all the great stories that are out there. So how do you handle when you get that rejection or you have that setback? How do you keep moving forward? Because you clearly have done that.
Yeah, and that's a great question. And I love questions like that because I think it all comes down to whether we feel that our writing is a calling or a hobby.
Mm,
I think that comes to that. I mean, I know that you have a busy life. Why do you write? It's more than just, oh, I want to make money or I want to see my name on a book cover. And for some people, they just have one book that they want to get out and do, and that's great. Go for it. Indie publishing is fantastic for that. But if you want a career, you can still be an indie publisher yourself and have a career, but you have to think, what is this? Why? You have to kind of think about your why. And for me, I really feel God has called me to write. So that means that when I get a rejection, it hurts. I'll be honest. I've cried over rejections. I mean, it hurt,
yeah.
because
Oh,
you can't,
absolutely.
you've invested, and believe me, if you've never done a proposal, you have no idea. You invest so much tears, blood, sweat, and tears into it. You're like, come on, people. And so, it hurts, but sometimes, you kind of pick yourself up and you go, okay, so they didn't want this story. Now I have two choices. I can abandon ship and be like, okay, I'm throwing in the towel. I'm done. Nobody loves me. Everybody hates me. I'm going to eat some worms, right? And, or we can go, okay, that didn't work. So what's my next plan? Do I have a new story I want to pitch? Did they ask for revisions to this that maybe I want to make? Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. Do we want to finish this story and indie publish it? I mean, there's so many things, options that I think sometimes it's just taking a deep breath, not taking it personally too. Writing is personal, but the rejection is generally not personal. They're not doing it because they hate Sarah Hamaker. If they ever see anything else by Sarah Hamaker, they're gonna it's not right. I mean, it's
It's so
really
true. Yeah.
it's not, it feels personal, but it's really not personal. It can be for the whole host of reasons. I mean, I've gotten some of the nicest rejection notes via my agent saying, they loved my writing. Sometimes they don't have space for you.
Mhm.
Sometimes your book is too similar to someone else they just signed up for. Sometimes, fill in the blank. It can be that your editor really pushed for it, but somebody else had a bigger name who needed a slot. I mean, it could be, for a million reasons that have nothing to do with you personally, or really even your book.
Yeah. It's so true. And you've highlighted so many of them. It's all about timing. Who
Yeah.
else did they just sign? Who else are they publishing in the next, couple cycles. And so it could be that your writing's great, your story's great, they love it, but they just don't have space. And so
Yeah.
that's where having the ability to do indie publishing. And so like it's really ironic that you said that Fatal Past was a book that Love Inspired rejected. And the same thing for mine. It was going to be book 3 in a series. And I've just been waiting to write it because I really liked the idea. And so it was just like when Lisa Phillips was like, okay, I'm ready to put together another series. I was like, okay, now's the time to write that story. Because I've got 2 more that could go in that series if I have space and time for writing it. And it was just one of those, I was like, pulling that one out. And it's been a while. It has been a while. It has been sitting there as an idea for probably like 10 years. And I was just like, okay, now's the time to kind of test it and see if there's a market for me to write the other 2 books in the indie world. And if so, great. And if not, I had a lot of fun. And it was really fun actually to get back into that world. So when you're writing, do you have like a favorite stress or writing snack that you're like, I just have to have this when I'm writing?
Do you mean like I like a cup of tea beside me, or?
Yeah, so like you could do like, do you like tea or coffee?
Okay,
What do you drink when you're writing?
I only drink tea. I have my Jane Austen mug.
Oh, I love that. That's so sweet.
It's my third Jane Austen mug because my husband broke both of the other ones accidentally, and I'm like, I can't do it. So some days I'm like, I need Jane today, and I'll pull her down. Drink. So yeah, I only drink tea. I hate coffee. Love coffee. Coffee drink. My husband's a coffee. He loves it. A lot of my kids like. I can't stand it. I don't care how you doctor it up. I don't like it.
Yeah.
So I only do tea. So that's I like to write first thing in the morning if I can. Doesn't always work out that way. Depends on what else I have going on, but I prefer to do that before I open my email to write. And I've also though trained myself where I can write like after supper, where I shut down my email and then I can write in that time. But I turn into a pumpkin about 8 o'clock, so I'm like done. My brain is like,
yeah. Well, and that's something that everybody's just different. You know, like when you have your energy, when you have that mental capacity to write is just different. And so like to me, I've tried to switch to early morning, but it just doesn't work. It's still too chaotic at our house. So it still tends to be at night or in just snippets across the day because that's what works with my schedule. And so you learn when you love something, when it is a calling, you just make time for it and you make it work. So last question, how do you celebrate when you finish writing your books?
Well, I usually tell my family something. I have a couple of my dog. Yeah, they're like, yeah, I finished my book. And then I'll think about what I'm going to write next. I mean, I don't usually have a huge like party or anything. I mentally, I'm just kind of like, yeah, I'm done. And like, I finished a rough draft of one book and ideal world, I let that sit for about a month before I go back and edit it after the rough draft, because if I don't like to go back right away because I just need to let it percolate a little bit, but I don't want to not write. So I'm actually writing another book that I'm hoping to finish the rough draft for, and then I'll go back and edit the other one. Because it takes different parts of your brain, but I definitely, anyway.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely. And it is interesting how giving yourself that space before you go back to editing it helps you to see it in a fresh way.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
That's great. Well, where can readers learn about you and your books?
Well, I have a website, sarahhamakerfiction.com, and I'm on Amazon. I'm on Barnes and Noble. I'm pretty easy to find. I have a good last name like you.
Yeah. Yeah, you do.
There's a lot of other Sarahs out there, but there's not a lot. I don't think I've come across another Sarah Hamaker with one M in the name. So I mean that's the easiest way to find me.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. It was so fun chatting about your book in Truth, the collection of 4 books, and that will be available until the end of September.
I believe
Is that about right?
So. Yeah, if I can do it's 90 days. So yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. It was great chatting with you today.
Thank you, Kara. Always a pleasure to talk to you.